Welcome back to Piecemeal Painting. It's Dragonstorm, and here I am working again on the Oracle of Delphi. So last time I worked on it, which was over a week ago, I put some work into the face. We had done some work with some eyebrows, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't really happy with how it was turning out. Whenever that happens, I take a break from it, take a step back away from the painting, and then once I've kind of recentered myself, I come back to it. So I wanted to work today on things which I was not happy with. So I've gone over the eyebrows with some skin tone paint, which I mixed up. And I'm going to focus actually today, while that's drying at the moment, on the lips. So what I've done, I have here some of the skin tone I was using and some extra red. And I've mixed those together here to make a darker version of the skin tone, because the lips essentially are just darker versions of the skin tone itself. And that goes for just about every skin tone out there. So by adding red to my mixture, it just darkens the lips enough to make them stand out without being overwhelming, like we would with the brown, the burnt umber, to make a shadow. So I've got my paint. I'm going to just go over the lips. And once again, I think part of the problem was the fact that A, there's a lot of white space right there, which contrasts the skin tone. But B, I'd gone over the area of the lips with some of that skin tone, and it kind of makes the figure look as if she is gasping or in some sort of pain or distress. And it just wasn't a look I was going for. So as I start adding the lip coloring, I can make some adjustments to it. So I'm going to add a little bit of this pink mixture I've got here into that darker version, because I want to go in increments. I don't want to go too dark and ruin all the paint that I've got there. So by adding small amounts of this pink, as opposed to taking globs of red, I'm just able to more subtly affect the coloration and to try and get that lip color that I'm looking for there. And we just want it to stand out a little bit from the rest of the skin. We don't want it to be very harsh. It needs to be very subtle. And I'm guessing, and that's all it is right now, it's a guess. I'm guessing that by doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually be happier with the overall result. When it comes to a painting, it's amazing what a difference a small change can make. So let's see whether or not that makes a big enough difference for me to be a bit happier with the way this is turning out. And again, painting is one of those things, it's not really a science. I mean, I guess it can be with some of the color mixing, but I find there's a lot of emotion involved. And when I'm not happy with how things turning out, I have to step away from it. And please don't feel at all bad if you find yourself in a similar boat where you just need to get away from the work for a bit. Give yourself some time away. And then when you come back to it, there's no pressure there. You're doing it at your own leisure, and you're doing it on your own terms as well, which I think is very important. So let's see how this turns out. I hope you can make out the pencil lines still there. I did erase them slightly so they wouldn't stand out too much. I'm happy though that the skin tone is covering fairly well. The pencil marks aren't showing through, which was what we want. We really don't want a whole lot of pencil, because A, will smudge, it'll darken, but B, it also doesn't look very professional. So the more satisfied we are with it in the end, the better. So let's see here. Let's get that upper lip shape in there first. And the beauty again is that I can always adjust as I'm working. I can make them a little bit wider. I'm not working off of a picture of anyone in particular, so that gives me a little more freedom and a bit more leeway when it comes to the painting itself. I know that if I had actually chosen to paint somebody in particular, I might be more beholden to that need to have it look like somebody. And certainly we could paint a portrait of someone we know or someone that we look up on the internet as a reference. I'm also a big fan of getting people's permission before doing that, if at all possible. I think enough celebrities are in the public domain for us not to worry about them, But if you have a friend or family member, it's probably best to get their permission just to avoid any complications later. Okay, so I'm already happier with this even than it was 5 minutes ago. Because it's incredible what a difference a little bit of paint can make. And also the fact that there's less white space on the page now, it just looks a little more complete, a little more deliberate. Because the last thing I want is for it to look unsavory or to look worse. I think that would put me away from the painting for another week or so if this didn't work out. But if that happens, I mean, so be it. You gotta kind of go with it as best you can. And I'm not going to suggest even for a moment to you that I am experienced and good enough to be able to just tell you that it's an easy process. It's not, and it can be frustrating. But that frustration just means that when you're done, if it does turn out well, it's an obstacle overcome. You'll feel better for having had that challenge and for having overcome it, which I think is a wonderful part of the whole painting process. When you're able to complete one, which did give you some obstacles, which did have some confrontation, some issues here and there. All right. I'm pretty happy with the shape there. It looks like I didn't quite get enough coverage of the skin tones. I can always go over some of these white spaces on the edges over here if I feel that the lips are getting a bit too wide. Otherwise, I mean, the lower lip is a bit bigger after all than the upper lip. And again, we've got to add the shadows and some shading still as well. So one reason why I decided to record this process, even though I wasn't happy with the way it was looking, was to show that sometimes a painting does have to get worse before it gets better. Sometimes you run into obstacles and you kind of have to deal with them. I mean, there's no other way of saying it, really. I'm also today going to add a little bit of shading below the jaw. I think because I went too far with the chin here, not worrying about that because I'm going over it later anyways, it does look a bit odd down there. So by adding just a little bit of brown to my mix over here, back where my main skin tone was, I'm just going to create a bit of a shadow beneath the chin and jaw. And we'll see if that can create a bit more depth, but also fix that chin shape we have there as well. All right. Excuse me. And again, nice and dark, because she is absolutely wearing a hood there, some sort of shawl. So it would be casting some pretty nice shadows in the work there. I'm going to go darker in the corner here, but I just want to lay down a layer of paint to show the separation between jaw and neck. Now, it also occurs to me that if I'm going background first, I really should have done the neck first, since the face overlaps the neck. So that's a mistake there on my part, which I need to be more aware of as I go. The one thing I've found with the videos is that sometimes I lose, as I'm trying to create the conversation and the interaction and the chatter around the painting, I have found myself making mistakes here and there. So that's something that I've got to work on, something I need to focus more on as I move forward with the channel, which we'll do for sure. We'll get there, definitely. So I've got more and more brown being added as we get to the corner here where we get darker shadows. And I'm actually going to let the paint interact and mix on the canvas as I go here. Again, light's coming from this direction, so it's going to be darkest over here away from the light. So I'll get some of that nice burnt umber in there. and just have it trail off into the skin tone as I move to the right here. And mixing on the canvas is something which certainly does take some practice. So if you find that it's not working well for you, you can do the same thing we did in the upper corner here when we were working on the sky. I'm just gonna tilt that camera a little bit, where we were actually doing each individual color separately. And that's certainly something which you can work on and get practice with. I hope, if I haven't mentioned already, the fact that painting is a process and something that you need to you'll get better over time, but you're not going to be, this amazing, Picasso artist on your first attempt. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's certainly something to be said for that process of painting. All right, so slowly but surely we're going to get that done there. We're past the 10-minute mark of the video, so I'm going to stop there for today. I hope that shows you, if nothing else, that even someone who's willing to post videos online will make mistakes and will have obstacles to overcome. And it just takes a bit of work. I mean, already it looks better than it did 10 minutes ago. So thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider giving it a like, sharing with your friends if you think that it merits that, and subscribing to the channel if you want to enjoy more content. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.